All right, here's the big Aristotle, Shaq this, Shaq Diesel, big whatever other dumbass nickname Shaq had. I don't like Shaq, to be honest with you. Here's our man, the captain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, with his sick ass goggles on, NBA all-time leading scorer before LeBron James came along. And if you ask me who the most dominant player in NBA history is, honestly, I probably don't even think of Kareem's name. I just think Shaq and I think Wilt Chamberlain. Those are the two names that just immediately pop into my head if you say who's the most dominant player of all time. I think Kareem gets majorly overlooked in terms of being the most dominant player of all time. Like I said again, I don't even think of his name when I think most dominant. He also gets overlooked as being the greatest player of all time because normally when we go into that conversation, it's just Michael Jordan, LeBron James. Some people throw Shaq's name in there. Steph Curry's name will get thrown in there by some people, but Kareem's name doesn't seem to pop up nearly as much as it should, to be honest with you. And I just don't know why we overlook the captain Kareem so much. But getting into it, the video is basically about who's the most dominant player of all time and just a head to head with Kareem and Shaq in general. So Shaq, like I said before, we're just gonna compare the numbers. I don't like Shaq, just to be honest with you. I think he's really just a grown child. He always has to be the center of attention. He's 50, however many years old he is now, and he still always has to be the center of attention. He can't let anybody else be in the spotlight when he's in the room. He just has to have that attention on himself for whatever reason. Whenever Shaq was younger, there's all these crazy like hazing stories of him hazing the younger Lakers. It's really just him like physically assaulting people and doing just disgusting things. It's not hazing, it's just gross. There's stories of Shaq where players are in the stall, they're in the I was gonna say porta potty, but just the team locker room stall taking a shit or whatever, and Shaq would piss into a cup. There were stories he would actually poop in the cup and then he would dump it. He would dump it over the stall and just dump pee all over his teammate basically. And I have to fight you. I just have to fight you if you do that. I'm probably like 5'8", 140 pounds. I probably can't beat Shaq in a fight. Shaq would destroy me. Don't bet on me if I'm fighting against Shaq. But if you pour pee on me, dude, I'm gonna have to come out of the bathroom stall. I'm just gonna have to punch you in your nose as hard as I can and at least try to break your nose. That's all I can do. So this is getting off topic, but that's just gross. Shaq would dump he would dump his own urine on other players on his own team and then just think that's hazing or whatever. I don't like Shaq. Anyway, moving on though. Here's their not their head to head, but just their overall career numbers compared to each other. You think Shaq's going to have more points per game. You think he's going to beat Kareem in rebounds. You think he's going to have more blocks. At least that's what I would think if you just asked me off the top of my head, but it's just not true. Kareem played more overall games in his entire career, about 300 more games played overall. Kareem beats him in points. Kareem beats him in rebounds. Barely beats him in rebounds. Beats him by about 1 point, but nonetheless beats him. One more assist per game than Shaq over his career. He beats him on steals, just barely. Beats him on blocks, just barely. But he does beat him. And when you compare that, over 300 more games for your career, all that stuff does add up. Shaq beats him in field goal percentage. He's only 56% compared to 58%, so just barely beats him, but he does beat him. 3 point percentage. Kareem is better on this. Kareem took like 10 threes his entire career. 3 point percentage really means nothing for this comparison video, but there it is. Free throw percentage, y'all can guess who won that one. Kareem beat Shaq. Shaq shot 52% from the free throw line for his entire career. It's insane for someone to shoot better from the field than they do from the free throw line for their entire career. Just speaks to Shaq's lack of work ethic. Again, I don't want it to be a Shaq hating video. It's just going to end up being partially a Shaq hating video because I just do not like Shaq. But I'm not going to let people say, my hands are just too big. I can't shoot free throws with my gigantic hands. Kevin Durant has giant hands. Victor Wembanyama has gigantic hands. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had gigantic hands. My best example is Wemby. Wemby shoots like 82% from the free throw line. If Wemby and Shaq put their hands together, Wemby probably makes him look like a child with how gigantic Wemby's hands are. So if you're going to be a big man and say you can't shoot free throws or I'm bad at free throws, just say that you're uncoordinated, whatever it is, and I won't hate on you for that. If you're a big man and you're uncoordinated, you're a giant 7 foot tall dude. I don't necessarily expect you to be super coordinated and have great hand-eye coordination. But don't tell me my hands are too big. That's why I can't shoot free throws. My hands are just too big, because you just can't use that excuse, especially seeing Wemby and how great Wemby can shoot free throws. It's just like a lot of things with Shaq, it's just a lack of work ethic. He would have probably been the best player of all time if he put in any kind of work in the gym, but he just didn't. Getting back to it though, plus minus, Kareem beats him on the plus minus just by about half a point, still beats him. Value over replacement, Kareem beats him by 10 points in value over replacement. So Kareem's just a more valuable player overall as far as career numbers go. We'll get into some more numbers here, though. They're both in the Hall of Fame, of course. Kareem has 2 more championships. Kareem has 2 more first team All NBAs. Kareem has 1 more All NBA team just in general. Kareem has, it's insane, 8 more All Defensive teams. It's crazy to me to see Shaq only made 3 All Defensive teams. When people think of Shaq, they think of just a dominant player. I personally would think of a dominant force defensively as well, but it's more just like being a really good one-on-one post defender. But this still surprises me. If you ask me how many all defensive teams Shaq has, if you say over under 9.5, I'm gonna take the over. I'm gonna think Shaq has at least 10 all defensive teams. Just thinking back on him, but he only had 3 all defensive teams compared to Kareem's 11 all defensive teams, which is just crazy. I thought Shaq would have at least 10 of them, but we're all learning here. Kareem had the 6 MVPs, which most of us know. Shaq only had 1 MVP. That's another crazy thing. You would think Shaq would have 2 or 3 MVPs. That's just not the case. Shaq had 1 more Finals MVP. Kareem had 19 All-Stars, which is insane. Shaq having the 15 All-Star appearances, that's insane as well in its own right. But for Kareem to have almost 20 All-Star appearances just speaks to his longevity. Kareem was in his prime for basically 17 seasons straight. There was a 17-year span from 1970 to 1986, and Kareem averaged 26 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 blocks for 17 seasons straight. So Kareem's longevity is just insane. So I show you these numbers. If you're a Shaq stan or you prefer Shaq over Kareem, you probably say, okay, these are cool career numbers. Yes, Kareem beat Shaq in most things across the board here for their career numbers. But then you probably say Shaq was he's more of a peak player. Nobody can mess with his peak. His peak was greater than any other player's peak in NBA history. And if you told me that, I'd probably say yes, you're probably right. I think Shaq did have the greatest peak out of any player in NBA history. But then once you get into the numbers again, it's just not true. I learned so much making this video, to be honest. If you want to go off the peak, so Shaq's peak year, it was the 2000 season. Another fun fact, Shaq's never averaged 30 points or more for an entire season. In the 2000 season, he did average 30 points, but I rounded it up. It was probably more like 29.6 points or so, but Shaq's never averaged 30 points or more for an entire season, which really surprised me as well. That's just another fun fact about Shaq. But in 2000, again, I'm rounding up from his 29.6, but he averaged 30 points, 14 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 blocks, 57% from the field, and 52% from the free throw line. I just can't laugh enough where it's just so unbelievable that his free throw percentage is lower, or his field goal percentage is lower than his free throw percentage for his entire career, and just season after season after season. It just shows Shaq's lack of work ethic, and like I said, it's turning into me kind of hating on Shaq for the video, but it's not like a surprise. Everyone knew that Shaq lacked work ethic throughout his career. But anyway, 30 points, 14 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 blocks, 57% from the field. Just an amazing all-time great type of season. You hear those numbers, for someone to average 30 points and 14 rebounds, you probably think, okay, the only player that could have better numbers than that was probably Wilt Chamberlain. You know, just the numbers god. He just had the 100-point game, 50 points a game. I think he averaged like 25 rebounds per game in one season as well. You just look at Wilt's numbers and think, only Wilt, like that's the only person that can compare to someone averaging 30 points and 14 rebounds. But that was the 2000 season. That was Shaq's absolute peak prime season. The prime year for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was 1972. That's when he was just at the apex of his powers as far as numbers go anyway. And that season, Kareem averaged 35 points, 17 rebounds, 5 assists. Blocks weren't even recorded back then, so well, blocks weren't recorded, but he averaged like 3 blocks per game for pretty much his entire career. So I think it's safe to say Kareem would have averaged, it's right here, 2.6. He would have gave you at least 2.5 blocks per game that season. But anyway, blocks weren't recorded in that 1972 season. But 35 points, 15 rebounds, 5 assists. He's 58% from the field and 69% from the free throw line. So the only thing that Shaq was better than Kareem at their prime peak seasons was blocks per game, and the only reason that he was better was because the NBA wasn't even recording blocks per game in the 1972 season. But again, Kareem had 35 points compared to Shaq's 30 points in their prime seasons. Kareem had 17 rebounds compared to Shaq's 14 rebounds. Kareem had 5 assists compared to Shaq's 4 assists. Kareem shot 58% from the field compared to Shaq's 57% from the field. It's just 1%. It's barely any difference. Kareem shot 69% from the free throw line, where Shaq shot 52% from the free throw line. Nobody's going to be surprised about the free throw numbers. But again, that was 1972 compared to Shaq's 2000 season, and it's just stupid, honestly. Kareem averaged 35 points, 17 rebounds, and 35 points, 17 rebounds, and 5 assists. Just to average 35 points for one season is ridiculous. To average 17 rebounds for one season is just godlike and just unheard of, to be honest with you. I mean, if you told me someone averaged 17 rebounds in one season, which player was that? I would tell you Wilt Chamberlain just right off the rip, but Kareem did that as well. To average 35 points in a season while shooting 58% from the field is just ridiculous. All-time great style numbers. So career numbers overall, Kareem's better at every single thing except for field goal percentage. And then again, like I said, somebody that's on the Shaquille O'Neal side would probably say, okay, I see these career numbers. That's all fair. But his one peak year, his prime year, that must have been better than Kareem's prime year. But again, I give you the numbers: 35 points, 17 rebounds, and 5 assists for Kareem. That was 1972, his absolute peak season. Shaq in 2000, that was Shaq's absolute peak season as far as numbers go. Shaq was 30 points, 14 rebounds, and 4 assists. So Kareem cleared him in every single one of those stats. Kareem was better in field goal percentage as well, because people would probably want to say, all right, Shaq, he averaged less points, but he was probably shooting 62% from the field. No, he wasn't. Kareem was better in every single statistical category. Even in their even in that one prime peak season, Kareem still had him. So people would probably say, okay, Kareem had better career overall numbers. Kareem had that one better peak season. Okay, but Shaq had to be better in the playoffs, right? Shaq's the most dominant player of all time. He must have had better playoff averages at least, and that's just not even really true either. All-time playoff averages: 24 points for Shaq, 24 points for Kareem, so they were equal in their playoff numbers. Rebounds, it's 12 and 12, so they were equal. As far as their playoff, do we have it down here? As far as their playoff rebounds goes, I don't know if they have the playoff stuff right here. Well, let me just go to it. They have the exact numbers here, but I'll just keep going off what I had. The points are a tie, playoff career points, 24 points, 24 points. The rebounds are a tie. They both average 12 rebounds per game for their playoff career. The assists are also a tie, 3 assists per game. So points, rebounds, assists, their playoff averages are all tied for those categories. 2.5 blocks for Kareem. Shaq was 2 blocks. So Kareem has half a block more. Nothing crazy, but, he is ahead of him. Shaq was 56% from the field, where Kareem was 53% from the field for the playoff average. Shaq's 50% from the free throw line, Kareem's 74% from the free throw line for their playoff averages. So again, 24 points for both, it's a tie. 12 rebounds for both, it's a tie. 3 assists for both, it's a tie. Kareem has half of a block more than Shaq, and then Shaq wins on the field goal percentage. He's 56% from the field, where Kareem's only 53% from the field. But again, it was just a really eye-opening video for me when I made this, going through all of these numbers. Again, Kareem had a 20 season career, 2021 season career, 17 seasons. He was in his prime basically. He averaged 26 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 blocks for 17 seasons straight. So it's just amazing. Kareem, he beat Shaq in longevity. He beats Shaq in just these overall career numbers for his entire career. He beat Shaq as far as just one peak season. Kareem's best season is better than Shaq's best season in everything across the board, even field goal percentage. Then you get into the playoff stats, and they're pretty much equal across the board as far as their playoff numbers go. Shaq does edge him out. He's 56% from the field, where Kareem is 53% from the field. Then, of course, Kareem beats him on the free throw percentage, but everybody beats Shaq on the free throw percentage. So, again, it's just really jarring numbers for me. Kareem basically dominates Shaq in just about everything except for their playoff numbers. Their career playoff numbers are pretty much the same. Again, 24 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 blocks. They both Kareem and Shaq pretty much average the same as far as career playoff numbers go. But the captain Kareem is just one of the most dominant players of all time. Nobody will argue with you when you say he's one of the greatest players of all time. He's a top 10 all-time player. Nobody's going to argue with you when you say that. But if you try to make the argument for Kareem as the greatest player of all time, nobody really even makes that argument. I wasn't around to watch Kareem play in the 70s, so I can't really make the eye test except for based on watching full games on YouTube of Kareem play. But I feel like Kareem is just so underrated. When we say most dominant player of all time, if you're like me, Wilt Chamberlain, Shaq, those are the two names that are going to pop into my head. But Kareem's just a more dominant player than Shaq. He's a more effective player than Shaq. He had more success overall in his entire career, and I don't think anybody argues that Shaq is ahead of Kareem in just the all-time pantheon of greats. But when you put the word dominant in there, again, if somebody asks me that, I'm going to say Shaq's more dominant than Kareem just based on the word dominant. But even that's not even true. Pick a 10-year stretch, the best 10-year stretch of Shaq's career compared to Kareem's career. Kareem's more dominant. Pick a 5-year stretch, a 3-year stretch. Pick their one peak year, like I was telling you guys. Pick a playoff stretch. There's no stretch, there's no area of the game where Shaq was more dominant than Kareem, except maybe, like I said again, Shaq's 56% from the field for his playoff career average, where Kareem is 53% from the field. But Kareem makes up for that with his better free throw shooting, and then just with his basketball IQ and his passing, to be honest with you. So again, like I said to start the video, I do not like Shaq. He throws his own piss in the bathroom stalls with his own teammates, and Shaq is he just strikes me as a big old bully. He's kind of always been a bully for his whole life, from what I can see, and I don't like Shaq. But even with that being said, here's all the numbers. I showed you guys the numbers. The numbers don't lie. Kareem's just he's a more dominant overall player. He had the better career. He has the better numbers. Like I said again, everyone knows Kareem is the better player than Shaq, but he's the better player, better career, and he's the more dominant player just for his entire career than Shaq ever was. So please like and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers. Please let me know what you think about Shaq just being a bully, what you think about Kareem just being a more dominant player than Shaq, because before I did all of this research, I would say Shaq's the most dominant player of all time, right behind Wilt Chamberlain, but it just isn't true based on these numbers here. Please like and subscribe. Please let me know what you think about Shaq and Kareem. Peace.